Billy C. We'll be right back.
It's now time for Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. It began as a podcast, went live on the net, and transformed into a full-blown empire. It's the only daily boxing talk show on the planet, hosted by the only guy with the balls to do it. Many have stepped into the ring. Many have tried to take the belt. And one by one, they've fallen. Another victim of the undisputed heavyweight champion of boxing talk radio. Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. is on now.
My style is impetuous, my defense is impregnable, and I'm just ferocious. I want your heart.
We're coming to you live from the Billy C Studios in Lake George, New York. I'm Bill Calogero. It's time for the Billy C Show. Good morning, good day, good evening. Whenever you're listening or watching, we hope you're doing all right. We want to give a special shout out to all of our new viewers on Holyfield TV. We're glad to be part of Holyfield TV's sports programming, and we're glad to have you part of our day every day. And don't forget about our app. Go to Fight TV. That's FITE.TV/Billy C. Download our app today and check out the show on your phone or anything else you got that you can, keep in your pocket or whatever. Our app, www.fight.tv/Billy C. Today's show is being brought to us in part by Sal's Neighborhood Pizzeria and Italian Restaurant located on beautiful St. Simon's Island in Georgia. Check out his website, www.salsneighborhoodpizzeria.com. We'll give my man a call, 912-268-2328, 912-268-2328. Find out why I go all the way to St. Simon's to throw down a couple of pizzas and some other stuff they got there, too. And don't forget, if you're in the WGIG listening area in Brunswick, Georgia, and you haven't gotten some Italian food at Sal's, you're missing out. So give my man a call. Order it today, 912-268-2328. Today's show is also being brought to us in part by Gawk Box. What is it? Bottom line, it helps us and it helps you. So help us help you, and you can help us. And I'll tell you what. Just go to the website, www.billycboxing.com, and click on Gawk Box and create an account today. Doesn't cost you nothing, but it can save you something. Gawk Box. Today's show is also being brought to us in part by my book. Tom Molyneux, From Bondage to Baddest Man on the Planet, is available right now where all good books are sold. You can literally get a copy of this book right now while you're watching or listening to the show. Just visit Amazon.com or BarnesandNoble.com. Find out why we got a 5-star rating across the board. Now you're looking to get a signed copy? Don't worry about it. Visit our website, www.billycboxing.com, and click on the book. You can't miss it. Today's show, we're going to give you our final thoughts of the snooze fest that we called Canelo Alvarez against Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. I guess it wasn't a snooze fest. It was just a one-sided beatdown. But more importantly, we're going to start talking about the most anticipated fight outside of the heavyweight division, because obviously Anthony Joshua and Vladimir Klitschko gave us the fix that we really needed and the fix that boxing needed by fighting each other in a spectacular fight a couple weeks ago. But Triple G and Canelo Alvarez now set for September 16th. We'll talk about that. We got some other fight results to chat about. We got some sports scores. We got emails. We got all that stuff. Dax Khan will be coming up in a little bit, give us his final thoughts as well as an outlook on what he thinks will happen, Triple G against Canelo Alvarez, and then whatever else is going on in social media. This week's Blast from the Past, which will be on Wednesday, Alex Papali will join us and tell us all about Miguel Canto. Another request from you. Later in the show, we'll also have our trivia question, which is still active. Everybody crying. I won't mention any names, but his initials were Kevin. Crying every single day in the chat room about the trivia question. Now we got a tough one, and I'm hearing crickets. Kevin, where are you, man? Well, I get this one right. But anyway, getting it right. Well, here's a guy. He's a New Jersey boxing Hall of Famer. He's a Guinness Book of World Record holder, and he can throw a pie from here to St. Simons. So actually, he can throw a pie from St. Simons to here. Yeah. That's it. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, please welcome the one, the only, the man, the myth, the legend himself, Sal Rocky Senecola. What's up, Sal?
Good morning, Billy. How are you today?
I'm doing very well, thank you. I'm building an ark because it hasn't stopped raining here in the last 5 days. But aside from that, my lawn looks like I should get a hay baler over here. But aside from that, everything's honky-dory. How about you, my man?
That's good. We're slowly creeping into the 80s and sunny today. We need a good rain. It's been dry down here. Been dry.
Well, you can have all of our rain, to be honest.
Take it down, funnel it down, channel it.
Yeah, I will. I remember. What is it with you guys down there? All you want is, precipitation. When I was telling you about all this snow, you're like, "Oh, please bring some snow here." I'm like, "You want it? Yeah, you got it." Hey, speaking of snow, believe it or not, Sal, we got a chance of snow tonight and tomorrow night. Can you believe that? We're in friggin' May. Unbelievable, right?
That is unbelievable. That is crazy. Reminds me when I was a kid. Boy, I think it snowed on Easter Sunday one year, and that was in May. Yeah, crazy.
No, Easter Sunday's in April.
No, but it was Easter Sunday. It did snow in April.
It was a Sunday after Easter.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It was a Sunday after Easter.
It's a little early for you, but
accent.
anyway, Sal.
Okay.
Let's just real quickly go through these fight results, and then we can comment on them. First and foremost, in case you guys missed it, which you would have been very lucky, and you would have saved yourself $70 or whatever it was. Yeah, $69.95. Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. Really put up a stinker. I mean, all this stuff. I mean, including myself. Man, was I totally wrong. I went out on a limb, and the branch, she just broke when I said go with Chavez. I even was talking to one of my guys who's up in college right now, and hopefully he'll be getting out soon. But I said, you heard it here first. Chavez will beat Canelo. Well, man, was I wrong, and Julio Cesar Chavez not only let me down, but a lot of his Mexican fans, and especially his father. He was there for 12 rounds, but didn't do much. Canelo Alvarez dominated. My scorecard, as well as all three judges, had it 120 to 108, not giving Julio one round. Canelo Alvarez improves to 49 wins, 1 loss, 1 draw, and 34 of his wins coming by knockout. Chavez, he drops to 50 wins, 3 losses, and a draw, with 32 of his wins coming by knockout. And I would imagine that's the end of his career. Now, some quotes after the fight, because the biggest announcement and the best part of this fight was the announcement that Canelo Alvarez will finally man up and step into the ring against Triple G. They announced it right there after the fight. And after the fight, I have some quotes from all three of the guys, one of them being Canelo, the second one being the hapless Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., and the third being Triple G himself. First, let's get rid of the guy who showed up for a payday and didn't do much else. Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. said, Canelo beat me. He beat me at distance. He's an active fighter. He's very good, and he beat me. I wanted a box, but when he went to the ropes, I just needed to throw more punches. I would have attacked more, but I would have been countered by his punches. Nacho told me to do that, but the strategy didn't work. The speed and distance was the key. I didn't feel that much power because I felt dwindled. I couldn't throw as many punches as I wanted. My father kept telling me to throw more punches from ringside. The bottom line is, Sal, we're always talking about fighters that say, I don't want to make an excuse, but this clearly was an excuse. He says he couldn't throw as many punches. Everybody's telling him to throw more punches. If he can't pull the trigger, then his career is over. And to suggest that, it was Nacho's fault, Maybe it was, but you don't say that at the podium. And when from your point of view, you go in with a game plan, and it was a stupid game plan. I mean, let's be real. No disrespect to Nacho, but that's Nacho game plan against Canelo. I mean, it wasn't. Maybe they tried to do it in the first couple of rounds. But when do you kick that game plan to the curb and go to game plan B, Sal?
Well, you have to have that plan B. And, the whole thing is this. I didn't even see him effectively carry out plan A. It was like you said, Canelo voluntarily put his back to the ropes. He didn't put him there. I mean, he wasn't put there by Chavez. And he was in a perfect position for him to counter, yes, but also for Chavez to be in front of him and just tee off and take his shots, pick his shots, and look where he's going to hit. And he tried to do it, and he did at times. There was a left, there was a right, maybe a hook, but there was no 4, 5, 6. It was almost like he would go boom, 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 step back, and that's when Canelo would boom, 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 come right back on him. He didn't follow up with enough punches. That's the math, Actually speaking, you're going to throw more punches, you're going to land more punches. So the bottom line is he did not throw enough punches.
This is true. He didn't throw enough punches, and he wasn't aggressive enough. And
No.
he says, and in this quote, he said, "I would have attacked more, but I would have been countered by his punches." Well, to me, that's saying I didn't want to get hit by him. I didn't want him to hit me. Don't hit me. Don't hit me. Don't hit me. Please don't hit me. I mean, come on, man. There's no fire. Listen, Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., it is what it is, but the guy had no fire in his belly. He never did. I think it's over. This was his last chance, Sal. I don't want to see him again inside the ring. Let him go off into the sunset. His father was crushed by his lack of effort, and I wouldn't be surprised if in the near future we read that the relationship between Junior and Papa Chavez is strained. What do you think?
Well, I believe so. I mean, it's hard to say what happens in the family mechanics there with the relationship. However, but I think that Chavez, it's going to be a long time that fans are going to want to see him fight anybody. I mean, sure, he can fight second-tier opponents, and he could tee off and do his thing and build up his career. But any real significant fight, I don't see him really with that kind of performance getting past. He certainly will not get past a David Lemieux, any one of those top contenders. Nothing going on with even a welterweight Keith Thurman. He's not going to go down that far. But I mean, there's nothing else left for him to do right now, and to restore that credibility in my eyes. Now I could be wrong. Let's see. But like I said, the fighter that showed up for that fight that night was not the fighter that we all put our bets on or just counted on seeing. At least a good performance from him. Going down, swinging, whatever it might have been. But he didn't offer that. It was just a lackluster attempt to step into the ring and be a sparring partner. And that's all he was, a glorified sparring partner, because that's what it looked like.
No, you're right. You're right. And I didn't realize he was a mechanic. He's a mechanic? Oh, anyway. Maybe he should try a different field like being a mechanic.
Different mechanism.
Canelo said, "Tonight I showed I could move, I could box. I showed as a fighter I can do all things." He says, "I thought I was going to showcase myself as a fighter that could throw punches, but he just wouldn't do it. I've shown I can do lots of things in the ring. Anything a fighter brings, I've shown I can showcase myself. I wanted to try something new. I never sit down in sparring, and I didn't want to sit down here. Triple G, you are next, my friend," he said. He said, "The fight is done. I've never feared anyone since I was 16, fighting as a pro. When I was born, fear was gone. I never got my share of fear. I'm very happy, and the rivalry is going to show my skills even more. I've had difficult fights, and that will no doubt be a tough fight, but I always say Canelo Alvarez is the best because I fight the best." Well, he's certainly fighting the best in the middleweight division, and Triple G said, "I feel very excited right now. It's a different story. In September, it will be a different style, a big drama show. I'm ready. Tonight, first, congratulations to Canelo and his team. Right now, I think everyone's excited for September. Canelo looked very good tonight, and 100% he is the biggest challenge of my career. Good luck to Canelo in September." Canelo had kind of a wise-ass comment to that Here, Triple G was trying to be, polite and showing that, it's business as usual. You know what Canelo said, Sal? Luck is for mediocre people. What do you think of the little exchange between those two to kick
That's
off
funny.
the announcement of the fight that's taking place September 16th?
Well, that was the first kind of volley with the words, and I hear Canelo using that term mediocrity a little bit, late, and I think he's suggesting that maybe that Triple G is mediocre at best, but we will find out in September, and I see that being a pretty good action-packed fight, not taken away from either fighter. I think they'll rise to the occasion, and that's going to be one of the fights of the year that we're going to see.
Well, hopefully, and I would
Hopefully.
think that in lieu, and we'll talk a little more about that here in a few minutes. I want to just get the other fights results out of the way here, but
Yes.
just touching on the mega fight set for September 16th between Canelo and Triple G. It's going to be interesting as time goes on to find out some of the details of the contract, what the weight's going to be. I'm assuming it's going to be max weight of 160, but we all know that Canelo has kind of evolved into I'm the A side guy. I want everything my way. Obviously he's challenging Triple G, so he's not walking out first. That's not happening. The location of the fight is still up in the air. There's some rumor that it might take place in Dallas at the Dallas Cowboy Stadium, but who knows? We do know it'll be a pay-per-view, and I think it'll do pretty well. My early thoughts are pretty much like everyone else, looking at Canelo's performance, even though Chavez Jr. didn't put up much of a fight. He looked fantastic against Chavez Jr., and when you look at Triple G's last two fights, he looked mediocre at best. I would think that Canelo will be bigger than Triple G. A lot of people think and always say, most of the time when you refer to the possibility of Floyd fighting Triple G, oh, he's so big, Triple G is so big. And that's not the case. We saw that against Daniel Jacobs. He was way smaller. And I think you're going to see that difference between Canelo and Triple G. Triple G may have an inch or so height advantage, but as far as overall body thickness and build, Canelo is going to be the bigger fighter. And come fight night, Canelo is going to weigh more than Triple G. I would bet my last dollar on that one, Sal. What do you think, real quick, before we take a break here?
Yeah, I think you're right. He'll come in bigger, but will that extra weight be a deficit for him, or enhance his ability to carry that weight and use it effectively? I don't know. That we're going to have to see. Don't forget this was Canelo fighting. Who knows what the weight was that he stepped into the ring. Sometimes when you make a weight class, even though you have 24 hours nowadays to replenish yourself, you're still walking in heavier than what you usually train at and what you fight at. So, I mean, I would assume if he's going to try and be a big guy that night, it might slow him down. It might not. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll hear all the hype and all the predictions and all the other stuff as far as weights. And I think it's just going to be a great fight. And I'll tell you who I think when you ask me the question.
All
Who
right.
will
Well,
win.
listen. Let's take a short break, and when we come back, I'll finish up with the rest of the fight results, and then we'll get right into our thoughts on the big fight coming up. So we'll be back in about 2.
Billy C will be right back.
Endless pools are an incredible alternative to traditional pools, making it easy and inexpensive to swim at home. Exercise year-round against a smooth current set to your desired pace and temperature. With our new underwater treadmill, you can walk or run without stressing your joints. Endless pools are simple to install and even simpler to maintain. The water stays crystal clear with almost no chlorine. Call for your free idea kit and experience the freedom of swimming at home.
Are you currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace?
Call Back Brace America at 1-800-290-8300.
Endless pools are an incredible alternative to traditional pools, making it easy and inexpensive to swim.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts. Why are you doing that to my face?
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're listening to the Billy C. Show. Glad you could be with us today. And don't forget about getting a copy of my book. Just visit our website, www.billycboxing.com, and click on the book. You can't miss it. Or you could just go to Amazon.com or BarnesandNoble.com and get yourself a copy there. I'm here with my man Sal Rocky Senecola. In a little bit, we'll have Dax Khan joining us. First and foremost, I will say this, Sal. We had some other fights on that card, and first the co-main event, David Lemieux, he improved to 38-3 with 33 knockouts when he won a unanimous decision over Marco Reyes, who drops to 35-5 with 26 knockouts. He won the fight. He won virtually every round. The three judges, two of them had it 99-90, and one had it 99-91, all in favor of David Lemieux. And Sal, I felt he dominated the fight without any inkling of suffering a loss or even getting hurt in the fight. But a lot of things became pretty apparent to me. Number one, I thought that he was in a little better shape than his last fight when he destroyed Curtis Stevens. But number two, I see a lot of holes in his game that's going to affect him if he tries to take on like the winner of Canelo and Triple G or even a Daniel Jacobs fight. I mean, he needs to. I've been saying this all along. We said it prior to the fight, but he needs to work on his defense. Maybe his hands up a little higher. Maybe some more head movement because he virtually has none. And he also needs to get away from the headhunting attitude. I mean, yes, he's a knockout puncher. We all know that. But I felt that if he would have went downstairs a little bit against Reyes, he would have stopped him. But instead, every time he felt that he had him in trouble, he just went hunting for the head. And I think that's going to hurt him when you get to the A-tier fighters in the middleweight division. What's your thoughts on the fight and his performance?
Pretty much what you just said. I think, his fight plan for that fight, he went out there, he caught Reyes early and hurt him, and that was evident. But when he couldn't finish him by the fourth or fifth round, he knew he was going to be in for a longer fight, but he continued to abandon the body, abandon boxing style. He went there with some big shots trying to tee off and he headhunted, basically. And he forgot about all of his skills that he had looked at improving after his Triple G fight. I mean, every fight he's had since that Triple G fight, he steadily improved. You saw some more polish on his style, along with a devastating punch. And I'll tell you what, he still has some power in there that is going to lay a lot of these guys out. But he definitely took too many shots. He forgot about going into the body. And I think a win's a win here, and he'll go back to school, and hopefully he'll look a little bit more multidimensional when he can go to the body, cut the ring off a little bit, and work a fighter with a real plan in mind.
Again, when you go into a fight, good fighters and good trainers go in with a couple of different plans. After he wasn't able to stop Reyes early on, again, I would think that you'd have to go to Plan B and start chopping down a tree. You know, I mean, I know I keep saying it, and I know I sound like a broken record, but you know, he's got to go to a body more, especially against a guy that was bigger than him, where he was giving up several inches in height, and he had all of that torso to work on. You know, when do you blame the training staff for not telling him, or do we assume that he just didn't carry the instructions out?
I mean, we could assume he didn't carry the instructions out because, you know, the training staff, they should know. I mean, we're not talking about lower tier fighters that have a bumbling cornerman. We're talking about an A team that does know what they're doing and knows how to prepare a fighter and does know how to look out during the course of a fight. What are the available options there and what's happening and what would be able to, as far as style changes and subtle changes, to make a difference. And I would assume that they would relay this to their fighter, and either the fighter didn't comprehend it or utilize it or just ignored it and did his own thing. I don't know. Well, that's what I assume.
That's been my hang up with a lot of these trainers of today. They're rah-rah men. They're in the corner. Go get him, Mel. You're winning. Oh, you're doing this. Hey, here, you want a sip of water? Hey, you need some more water? Hey, dump some ice on him. Okay, ding, go out there. You know, I mean, they're not giving him any instruction. You know, and remember, that's not the original trainer for David Lemieux. He originally was with Russ Amber, so he's gone through some trainers. But anyway, on that card, we also saw the return of former world champ Lucas Matthysse. He improved to 38-3 with 33 knockouts when he won a unanimous decision over when he improved to 38-4 with 35 knockouts when he scored a fifth round stoppage over Emmanuel Taylor. That's what happens when you get old and you're not reading properly. You read the same lines over and over. Emmanuel Taylor hit the deck early and then hit the deck again, and Gennady waved it off at 2 minutes and 21 seconds of the fifth round. Matthysse looked good against Taylor. I'm not that impressed with Taylor. I know listen, the blueprint for Star Boxing's fighters are simple. You know, Joe DeGuardia and Star Boxing, all they do is feed their fighters cupcakes until they get title shots. And Emmanuel Taylor has been in the limelight for big fights in his last half a dozen fights. And, every time he stepped up, he's come up short. And that's evident with the 5 losses he has. The 20 wins were all against not so great opponents. I do give him an A for effort. He did try. And I will say this, Sal. Lucas Matthysse moving up now to welterweight. And by the way, both fighters moved up to welterweight because both fighters were previously more successful as a junior welterweight. As good as Matthysse may have looked, or people are making it sound like he looked against Emmanuel Taylor, I'm not so sure at 34 years old, 35 years old, whatever he is, that he's going to carry what he was successful with in the lower weight division, and that's punching power. I think these welterweights of today are way bigger than, people say, how could there be weight? Well, because they weigh in the day before, then they put on another 15 pounds. I just don't see the power carrying. I don't think it was evident against Taylor. Taylor, a tough guy, but not so much with the chin. I mean, I know it was the first time he was officially knocked out, but he's been banged up pretty much. I don't know. What did you see? Do you think he still possessed the power in the welterweight division, Sal?
Yeah, I think he'll carry it. I think he'll carry carry most of that power up with him. He's going to just reposition his body and follow through. It's going to be a new weight distribution for him, and but I think he'll still have some power. I think he'll still have some pop in his punch, and we'll have to see. Let's look for the next fight.
Is that sort of like the crunch in the Captain Crunch? I mean,
it is the crunch, the pop in his punch, the crunch in the punch.
All right, snap, pap, and pop, huh? Snap, crackle, and pop, huh?
That's right, it's Krispies. They don't.
Right.
Well.
I'm getting my cereals wrong, but and finally in the opener, a fight that I knew would be competitive, and it was for the most part. Jojo Diaz improved to 24-0 with 13 knockouts when he beat Tino Avila via a unanimous decision. Tino loses for the first time in his career. He drops to 22-1 with 8 knockouts. A cut seemed to bother Avila in that fight, Sal, and he just never seemed to get it going. At least that's what I saw. Did you notice anything along those lines?
No, well, a little bit. Yeah, I think from the highlights that I saw, I read that as well as you did.
Also on Saturday, from the land down under,
There
Joseph
we go.
Parker made the first title defense of his WBO World Heavyweight title a successful one when he went the distance with late sub Razvan Kajanu. Joseph Parker improves to 23-0 with 18 knockouts, and Kajanu drops the third fight of his career. He's now 16-3 with 9 knockouts. The way the judges scored that one, 119, 108, 117, 110 twice. After the fight, they interviewed Huey Fury, who was supposed to fight him, and he says, I'll knock him out.
Of course.
Whatever.
Of course.
Everybody's tough after the fights, but Parker he wasn't that impressive. Kajanu, I would have thought he would have stopped them. Kajanu is not exactly a world beater. And he certainly came in much heavier than he had been when I watched him with the ESPN heavyweight tournament, where he looked pretty decent. One other thing on that card, Kostazou's son, Tim Tszyu, improved to 4-0 with 3 knockouts when he took care of Ivan Sayu, knocking him out in 2. Sayu drops to 3 wins, 7 losses, and a draw, with 3 of his wins coming by knockout. Hey, Sal, we're going to take another short break. And when we come back, Friday night fight results. Disheartening for me because I was a big fan of a guy who pretty much let me down.
Yes.
At least that's the way I look at it. I feel that he's definitely let me down. So in any event, let's take a short break. And when we come back, we'll talk about that and some other news. And in a little bit, probably in about a half hour or so, we'll get Dax Khan on. So we'll be back in 2.
Billy C will be right back.
Tell me, Kenny, how is it you rub my belly so fine with that secret rub of yours? And don't even tell me what you're gonna do next. I love you, Kenny Bear. Tell me, Kenny baby, what you gonna do next?
Kenny Bear's Old Florida Barbecue Rub and Seasoning. Grab a bottle today.
Endless pools are an incredible alternative to traditional pools, making it easy and inexpensive to swim at home. Exercise year-round against a smooth current set to your desired pace and temperature. With our new underwater treadmill, you can walk or run without stressing your joints. Endless pools are simple to install and even simpler to maintain. The water stays crystal clear with almost no chlorine. Call for your free idea kit and experience the freedom of swimming at home.
Snacking has never been this exciting. At Graze.com, we combine wholesome ingredients with the flavors we all love to create over 100 exciting snacks. Like these. We'd love to send you a Graze sampler box for free. Just go to Graze.com, enter the code ENJOY36, and we'll mail your free box to your home or office. Join thousands of Grazers already in love with our exciting snacks. So come to Graze.com for your first box free.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts. Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you. I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And You're listening to the Billy C. Show right here on Holyfield TV. We're glad to be part of the Holyfield Television Network sports programming. And if you haven't checked us out on Holyfield TV, check your local listings for the times and the channel that Holyfield TV is on. As a matter of fact, not only is it on DirecTV, but it's also on television stations from coast to coast, including Comcast. So check it out. I'm sure you have it somewhere. It's I had to look for it, but I got it. So anyway, I'm here with Sal Rocky Senecola. And Sal, Friday night, Yuriorkis Gamboa fought on ESPN, and I was really disappointed in the fight. I mean, he was dropped a plethora of times and finally quit in the seventh round. He refused to come out for the eighth. So at the end of the seventh, he told his corner he was done. Another new corner with a guy he drops to 26-2. Robinson Castellanos, the victor, a veteran, a tough guy that gave it all to Gamboa. He improves to 22-11 with 13 knockouts. What's your thoughts on the fight?
Well, Castellanos went out there like he was supposed to win. He just took control. He dropped the Gamboa early, and I was pulling for Gamboa. I like him, but I'll tell you, he didn't have any answers. I mean, Castellanos just kept on top of him, jumped on him, and just unleashed an arsenal of punches that just continually dropped him. And there was no coming back. It was like getting knocked down from a big wave in Hawaii and standing back up, and there's another one, and then standing back up, there's another one. And quitting in the ring is a hard one to swallow. You might as well say goodbye to your career. And maybe that, like I said, I don't know. I don't like it. I don't know what to say. I mean, do you go back out and get another wave to get knocked down, or eat the punches, or do you just stop going out into the water or into the ring? And I wouldn't choose to go out that way. But again, that's why everybody has a different approach and different personality.
I normally, especially lately, and that's thanks to Showtime's main announcer, Ronaldo Morallo, or whatever. I just can't stand listening to them anymore. It's a joke. And Teddy Atlas is no different. However, I did listen to Teddy. And by the way, man, how much do I miss Joe Tessitore on the ESPN broadcast? Bernardo Osuma is just terrible. He's terrible. And B-Hop is just as well. I mean, between the three of them, between Teddy Atlas talking like he's punch drunk, and Bernardo talking like that and just not knowing what else to say, and Bernard Hopkins with both of these and beef it up and boof it up, beep up, I mean, I couldn't understand what the hell they were saying, but the bottom line is that I agree with what Teddy said, I think. And Teddy said that Gamboa has no idea how to fight on the inside. And he blames it on the fact that the kid has so much natural ability that all along his way as an amateur in Cuba, and then, of course, coming over here to the States, that his hand speed and his punching accuracy and the accumulative punches took care of his opponents, and nobody ever stepped in and taught this kid how to fight on the inside. And I think when, Teddy was mentioning it, I mean, listen, I've been watching Gamboa for a long time, and to be 100% honest, I never really noticed it. He knows how to come in and hold and tie an opponent up, but that's why he's so susceptible of being dropped. He comes inside, and his hands get wider than when he's throwing punches, and he just leaves himself open. And I think Teddy was right on with that, a point that he made, Sal. I mean, what do you think? When Castellanos got him on the inside, he seemed like a sitting duck.
Well, that's exactly it. And, I think Teddy, part of what the value is that he brings to that network and to announcing is his insight as a competent and professional trainer. And Teddy could see some things that are evident, and he spotted that right on. And maybe that is part of what they need to go to school for, because I don't know if we're going to be able to rebrand. Here's a new, improved inside fighting ability of Gamboa, and release him back into the ring in the world. But yeah, I think Teddy was right on there. You can answer it if you weren't shown the proper ways, keep the inside and keep the punches and look for your shots and opening, and bring your position right back up and cover yourself, protect yourself, and boom, work those punches in there. You assume that most fighters have been in that position where they drill these things. I mean, that's what we used to do. We used to go toe to toe just for minutes and minutes and minutes of rounds, just blocking and trying to oust each other. And one guy would be defensive, the other guy would be offensive. Then they'd switch around. That's what we used to do. And to see that was not evident, that he even had a clue as far as doing that in a way that he could protect himself, in a way that he could dish out punishment, was amateurish in that level. So, we'll see what happens in the future.
Well, it's like I always say, boxing is, we're missing good teachers. We got rah-rah men. We're not, we don't have any teachers. And a kid like Gamboa, maybe a lot of it was on his side because, he came as an accomplished amateur, 300 fights or whatever, and started his pro career. And he's already in his mid-30s, so I think we've seen the last of Gamboa. I like you said, to rebrand him would be a tough battle. It really would. Unfortunately, Gamboa was not handled correctly here in the States, and he fooled everyone with his natural-born talent, and I think Teddy hit it right on the nose. The other fights that we saw on ESPN on Friday, Jesus Rojas improved to 25-1 with a couple of draws when he stopped Abraham Lopez in the 8th round. That was the co-main event. It's in featherweight division. Abraham Lopez was supposed to be the favorite in this fight. I thought Jesus Rojas broke him down to the point where Tony Weeks had to stop the fight. The official time was 1 minute and 47 seconds of the 8th round. Did you get a chance to see this one, Sal?
I saw some highlights of that one too, and like you said, here we had an upset and had a dominant fighter throughout the entire fight, and the guy just couldn't get on track.
In the opening fight that was on ESPN, a middleweight from Brazil, Yamaguchi Falco, improved to 13-0 with 6 knockouts when he won a unanimous decision over Morgan Fitch, who went into the fight undefeated himself. He's now 18-1-1 with 8 knockouts. The way the judges scored it were all in favor of Falco, 100-90, not giving Fitch one round. And again, this emphasizes what I say all the time. Undefeated records don't necessarily show what a real fighter is about. When you looked at Fitch's record, you could see that he was protected big time. And here's the thing. And this is where, and nothing against Fitch or his team or anything like that, but I want to use him as an example. Because let's face it, Falco was no world beater. He won the fight. There's no question. I don't disagree with the scorecards one bit, but I can't see him going that far in the middleweight division. Maybe I'm wrong. But in the middleweight division, you got to have some pop, and you got to knock out your opponents because there's some big, strong guys in the middleweight division. But my point, going back to Morgan Fitch, Sal, is simply this. When you give a fighter easy fights, and for argument's sake, 18 of his 20 fights were easy. 18 wins, maybe let's say a couple of those wins might have been, testing or whatever, some tested fights against decent opposition. But for argument's sake, let's just say he's had 18 easy fights, 2 tough ones. He lost one and had a draw with one. You're not helping the fighter. And here's where it really hurts, in the pocketbook, because Fitch earned himself a shot at a decent payday as a opening fight on a major televised boxing show like ESPN, and he loses. And that opens up the eyes, Sal, for other promoters and managers to see this kid and say, okay, he's got an impressive looking record. He looks good at 18-1-1, but he's not too dangerous. Let's get him. And in a sense, by them protecting him and putting him in a position to make a decent payday. I don't know what he made on Friday night, but let's say it was a decent payday, obviously more money than he's ever made in any of his previous fights. In a sense, what they're doing is they're hindering him from making any more. What he's become is an ESPN opponent fighter, which tells me that the most he's ever going to make, if he moves to the main event on an ESPN show, he may pull in 18 grand, maybe 20 at the absolute most. And he's just ruined himself. And the truth of the matter is if he would have been tested a little earlier on and gotten better, then when he got this opportunity against Falco, and should he have won, now that changes the whole complexion. Now he never makes less than 15, 18,000 a fight, and he starts moving up. So realistically, what this tells us is it tells us that the management, which is the manager, the promoter, the trainer, etc., of the fighters, are looking for that one cash-out fight where they could say, hey, we just got all our money back, and let's roll the dice with the fighter. And I think that that's what happened with Morgan Fitch on Friday. Now, I could be totally wrong and maybe looking into this a little deeper, but that's generally the scenario of how greed and overprotecting your fighter ends up. What's your thoughts on that, Sal?
Well, you know where I'm going with this one. It's like that luncheon I had with my old trainer, Chicky Ferrara. He said, Sal, let me tell you about it. You got all the talent, all the ability. You just got to remember that we're all bad in this game. I said, what do you mean, Chick? I love you. You're this, that. He says, we're all bad. You're a commodity, and we're going to use you for 3, 4, 5 years. And if you don't make it by then, and we're going to put you aside, and we're going to groom the next guy that we can have go on. I mean, that's what he said when I was reflecting and asking a Q&A session with Chicky. And it was an interesting conversation. But the same thing here. You have some people that will look at, hey, you know what? We're going to make this kid a commodity. We're going to bring him along. We're going to protect him. And then we're going to put him in there and see how he does. And if he doesn't pan out, so we got our money back and we're going to go on to the next. Or if he makes it, then we'll keep continuing and improving and see how long we can ride that horse. That's why they call a stable of fighters. I'm sorry, I didn't want to go there.
Ba-dum-bum.
Jeez.
And now for his next act, he's going to try and make Jell-O from pudding. Yeah, Bill Cosby's fame. Anyway, one other fight from Friday night, U.S. Olympian Jose Ramirez, as Bernard Osuna would say, improved to 20-0 with 15 knockouts when he scored a second-round knockout over Jake Guracio on Friday night in Nevada, in Reno. Guracio drops to 20 wins, 6 losses, and a draw. That's what took place this past weekend on Friday and Saturday, and we got let's get everybody caught up with some other sports scores real quick, and then I got an email to read. Over in the NBA, the Cavaliers win the series against the Raptors 4-0 when they beat the Raptors yesterday, 109-102. The Wizards, on the other hand, are making it a series against the Boston Celtics. They tie the series with at 2 games apiece with a 121-102 blowout win over the Celtics yesterday. And also tying the series was the Houston Rockets. They beat the Spurs 125-104. That series now is tied 2 games apiece. So the Cavs get to rest a little bit to see who they're going to fight, who they're going to fight next, who they're going to play next. And the Wizards and the Celtics and the Rockets and the Spurs got a couple of more games, at least 2 more games, possibly 3, to continue those series. Now, over in the NHL, we got some playoffs going on as well. The Predators beat the St. Louis Blues 3-1. They win that series 4-2, and they get to move on. Now, the Oilers were down to the Quack Quack Ducks, but they destroyed the Quack Quack Ducks, who couldn't lay an egg. But they almost did. But the 7-1, the Oilers beat them to force a 7th game. So this series goes all the way to the end, and we will get a seventh game for that one over in the NHL. Now, Major League Baseball, how about those hapless Mets and Harvey? Matt Harvey, who knows? You may never see him in the Mets uniform again. I hope somebody else picks him up and absorbs all the baggage that this guy brings. He didn't show up yesterday for his start, and subsequently has been suspended by the New York Mets for 3 games. And we'll see what happens. If you recall, he didn't show up for a playoff game last year, and says he was doing some things, and oh my goodness, look at the time, and they said, stay home, we don't need you. Nonetheless, the Mets maybe needed him because they lost to the Marlins 7-0. The pitching combined and gave up 13 hits. The Mets, the guys who started hitting the ball, 1 hit for the whole game. 1 hit. 7-0. The Mets are sad. Some other scores: the Blue Jays beat the Rays 2-1. The Orioles blanked the White Sox 4-0. The Cardinals took 14 innings to beat the Braves 6-4. The Brewers over the Pirates 6-2. The Red Sox beat up the Twins 17-6. The Indians shut out the Royals 1-0. The Phillies over the Nationals in 10 innings 6-5. The Rockies beat the Diamondbacks 5-2. The Astros beat the Angels 5-3. The A's over the Tigers 8-6. The Mariners over the Rangers 4-3. The Reds shut out the Giants 4-0. The Dodgers and Padres game was postponed. And oh yeah, the Yankees and Cubs just finished their game. They went 18 innings, and the Yankees win the game 5-4, sweep the existing World Series champion Chicago Cubs, and improved to 20-9, one of the best records, if not the best record, I think, in baseball. So congratulations to your Yankees, Sal.
Thank you.
You got
very
any
much.
thoughts on the Yankees and their young bombers coming through, or what?
I'll tell you, I'm excited. I'm really excited. Now, if the Giants get on the same pathway with some good young blood coming up and put it together, that'd be great. But you know what? I'm a New York Yankee fan through and through. I bleed pinstripes, and man, I'll tell you what, I'm excited about this year. They're looking good. I hope they keep and sustain that momentum to the end.
Well, I don't, because I'm a disgruntled Met fan. But we got an email. This one's from my man Joel. He says, hey, Billy C., with a big boxing weekend just passing us, I was curious if you and Sal are excited for the big fight this weekend between James Toney and Mike Shepard for the World Boxing Foundation's heavyweight title. I wasn't sure if you and Sal already have your tickets to attend this monster fight. Obviously, I'm only joking, but I was curious on your and Sal's thoughts. Listen, I know that Mike Shepard is a tough guy. I've had him on some of my shows, and he actually upset China Smith in a fight for the other WBF title. But Mike Shepard is just that, a tough guy. He's 40 years old. James Toney, I think, is 67 years old, and he's more of a veteran. Let me just say this, Sal. The last time I saw Mike Shepard, he knocked out China Smith in our main event in Florida. And the night before the fight, and China Smith, I'll never forget his comments after the fight. He says, I retired. I've already cemented my legacy. I'm like, legacy? Does anybody know? Somebody better whisper into his ear that there's no legacy for China Smith. But the truth of the matter was Mike Shepard was drinking beers poolside, literally. He had a 6-pack of beer that he was drinking before that fight. Yes, He comes to fight. He's a gym teacher. And I'm sure he's got to fight those kids what they want to do for gym. But I doubt he's really going to be in top physical condition. He will come to fight. He will try his hardest. But James Toney, I don't get this fight. These guys, like you've said, I mean, they have the right, as long as they pass the medicals, they have the right to continue to fight. But what kind of, talk about no pop at all with a boxing organization, a sanctioning organization that would sanction a fight with these two guys as their world champion. What's your thoughts on the fight and the foundation even putting their title on the line for this joke of a matchup?
It's a little sour for me. I'm not gonna comment too much about it, but we'll see what happens, and may the best man win. I really don't have too many comments to say about it.
Yeah, I mean, James Toney. Come to think of it, James Toney hasn't fought in a while, so I don't understand how these promoters and worse than promoters, the sanctioning bodies, how they can justify making a title fight for a fighter that's been out so long. I mean, a great example of it is even Saturday night. I mean, Lucas Matthysse was out over 18 months, and that was for some kind of a regional title. That wasn't even a regional title. I think it was an intercontinental belt or something. I just don't understand it. I mean, if you're out for more than a year, you shouldn't be allowed to compete for a championship of any kind. What do you think?
No, I think that's, you know what? I think that's a great new standardized law they should have. You're dormant, you're not fighting, you're not active, you're not around for a year. Why should you get the opportunity to come in your first fight back and fight for whatever title they invent? I mean, that's what's so pathetic, Bill. We've said it over and over again. You have so many belts. It's like participation medals, and it's ruining if it has not already ruined the sport. You could buy a belt here and there, and the promoters and the world sanctioning bodies, they do it. It's all about the greed and the money.
That's the definition of boxing. I just looked it up in the Webster's dictionary, and kids of today are going, dictionary?
Dictionary?
Webster's?
What's that?
What's that?
What's Siri?
Is that another name for Google? Is that another name for Siri? But anyway, Triple G taking on Canelo Alvarez finally.
Finally.
My thoughts on this fight initially is, number one, I do think that Canelo is going to give Triple G all he can handle. And no one's a bigger fan of Triple G than myself. But I do believe that either he's doubting himself. There's something going on with Triple G. His last two performances weren't by accident. He's just not the same fighter. I think Canelo was successful in waiting. He seems to be at his peak. And I think Triple G is on the downward slide. But with that said, I do think it'll be a good fight. I'm not so sure that Canelo can knock out Triple G. He has demonstrated that he's got a solid chin. And it's going to be interesting to see which style fight that Canelo employs, because Triple G is such a good ring general. He can cut the ring off and control the fight. Although he didn't really look like he was ready to exchange with Daniel Jacobs in his last fight. He respected Jacobs' power. And I'm just curious to know what you think. Do you think he's going to have that in the back of his mind against Canelo? Do you think he's looking at Canelo as a power puncher, or do you think he's looking at him as more of a technician when it comes to boxing? Because let's face it, Sal, Canelo looks, just like Dax said on our post-fight show, every fighter looks good when they're punching a punching bag, a heavy bag, and that's pretty much what Canelo was doing. But he is technically sound. Canelo Chavez trying to outbox Canelo really put Chavez in a position where he was down 2 points in a sense, because number one, he was trying to outbox a boxer. That's down 1. And number 2, he still was standing right in front of Canelo, which is number 2, because, I think a fighter that can give Canelo angles, a la Floyd Mayweather and any other fighter with movement, is going to give Canelo trouble. He hasn't proven to me that he's gotten over that hurdle yet, but I do think he's going to give Triple G all the trouble that he's worth. What kind of style do you think Triple G will employ against Canelo, and vice versa? How do you think Canelo will approach Triple G? We got tons of months to talk about this, but as of now, early onset, what do you think?
Yeah, we have. What do we have? About 4 months. So they a little less than the 18 months, but they definitely been talking about for 18 months. So I think that they definitely have enough time to prepare. I think I'm going to see Canelo trying to outbox Triple G. And I see Triple G just doing what he knows best, cutting off the ring. he's not going to have to look too hard to find Canelo. And I just hope that he can implement his style where he's going to be looking to get the body shots, wear down and break down Canelo. That's what I see him systematically trying to utilize. And I see Canelo maybe just trying to pick his shots and outbox and give Triple G some different angles to look at. In the end, I'll go what I originally said. You know, a fighter is viewed today only as good as his last performance, his last fight. And Triple G, last times out, 2 times out, he hasn't looked like the Triple G we all envisioned him looking like. And how many fights does he have left? Maybe 1, maybe 3. Who knows? I mean, the guy has had a stellar career. Maybe this could be his one last only, his final fight. I don't know. He's got to rise to the occasion, and I'm sure he will. He's been there, done that. So I'm going to see, and I'm going to make an early prediction. I could see Triple G breaking down systematically and methodically Canelo, no matter how much Canelo's going to try to outbox and pick some heavy shots and do what he can do. And I see it being a great fight for about 5-6 rounds, but I'll see a late round knockout by Triple G.
You know,
or stoppage.
Go down. I agree. I think that this fight could very well be the last fight of Triple G's career, because if he wins this fight, he's got 0 left to prove, except maybe trying to get that last belt, whoever may have it at that time. But to be honest with you, I don't know who I'm picking yet. I really think it's a 50-50 fight, and as much as I love Triple G, Canelo looks good, and I'm not just judging that by his performance against Junior. He's at the peak of his career in terms of age and size and strength. He's 26 years old. He's almost got 10 years on Triple G. And, I know he says he's fought the best, but, Floyd Mayweather was the best, and he did have some other good wins over top-notch opposition. But a lot of his fights early in his career were against nonchalant. So, I mean, yes, he's up there right now. There's no question. We can't take anything away from Canelo, and we can't take anything away from Triple G. And I do believe early on, Sal, that this fight will live up to the hype. But listen, let's hold that thought. We are going to continue our discussion on the fight between Triple G and Saul Canelo Alvarez. We'll also get Dax Khan's thoughts on it, as well as his final thoughts on the Canelo win over Junior, if you want to call that a fight, in about 2 minutes. So Sal and I will take a break, and we'll be back with the infamous Dax Khan.
Billy C will be right back. Part of the Billy C Boxing Network.
Have you heard? Proactive Plus is faster and better than ever. Stay tuned for a $1 million bottle giveaway, and you'll also receive free shipping. Do you have troubled skin? Acne? Well, we have great news. With Proactive Plus, your acne can heal, and you can help prevent new breakouts from happening. Don't miss this limited time offer. Give us a call at 800-567-0214 because we're going to let 1 million people try Proactive Plus risk-free and get 2 free gifts and also receive free shipping when you call right now. You heard it. This offer won't last long. So call Proactive Plus now and you'll receive a 60-day risk-free trial of Proactive Plus, 2 free extras, and free shipping. Call 800-567-0214. This is our exclusive radio offer, never on TV. Get your risk-free 60-day trial of Proactive Plus with free shipping. That's right, free shipping. Don't wait. Call 800-567-0214. That's 800-567-0214.
Are you currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace?
Call Back Brace America at 1-800-290-8300.
If you or a loved one have had hernia repair surgery with mesh reinforcement and suffered infection, chronic pain, mesh migration, mesh failure, organ damage, or needed additional surgery, call the Rely On Group right now. You may be eligible to receive a cash award and compensation for your medical expenses. Your voice deserves to be heard. Call the Rely On Group to be connected with a personal injury attorney for a free consultation. Call 800-715-4869. That's 800-715-4869.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts. Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you. I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're listening and watching the Billy C. Show. Glad you could be with us today. And don't forget about our app. What, you don't have it yet? We'll download it now. Just go to Fight, that's F-I-T-E, fight.tv/Billy C, and download our app right now so you can watch the show on your handheld. And don't forget, speaking of Fight TV, we have basically a feed right on our front page of our website, www.billycboxing.com, where you can watch all the pay-per-views that Fight TV offers. And they offer a lot of ones that you can't see on regular TV, especially the ones from the other side of that big old pond we call the ocean. So definitely check out the website and read the articles. We've got some great stuff going on BillyCBoxing.com. Well, joining me right now is not only Sal Rocky Senecola, but we also got Dax Khan joining us. Good morning, Dax.
Good morning.
Good morning, Dax.
How's everybody today?
Not too bad. What's your final thoughts, first and foremost, on, if you've got any ones that have changed, which I doubt it, but any final thoughts on the win from Saul Canelo Alvarez over Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. on Saturday night's not worth it pay-per-view?
My thoughts on it haven't changed. It's the public's thoughts that count. And as I stated the other day, and we spoke about, I was going to gather a few thoughts from people on social media, some people, who have some of the best thoughts, the way they summed it up. And I think that's the most important, because that's what the promoters need to pay attention to.
Shoot, what did they say?
All right, well, we'll start out with Lupe Contreras, the ring announcer. Lupe always has something witty to say, but, one of his comments was, so this was really an infomercial for the Canelo Triple G fight. And in a way, he's right. You know, this is what it was. It was more or less an infomercial.
Yeah, wait a minute. Before you go on, I agree with that. And do you think...
Me too.
Yeah, but do you think, that either one of you think that Chavez, I mean, listen, his performance... with his quotes, he's saying, I would have moved in and threw more punches, but then he would have countered me and hit me more. I'm saying to myself, wait a minute. The more I think about that now, listening to that, which is pretty much dead on, do you think the fight was fixed? I mean, guys, Julio Cesar Chavez looked like he never really cared about this fight. I mean, it looked like he was there to go to distance, and they already had Triple G, who said he wasn't going to be ringside. They already have the date. They already have the contract signed. Was this just a stepping stone fight? I mean, let's use the F word. Not that one. Let's use the fix. Was the fight fixed?
A lot of people are questioning that. Even a lot of professional fighters have openly stated, it looked like it was a fix because Chavez Jr. literally just didn't try. Gianna Garbelli, who we know from over in Italy, she said, we've seen a great fight in London on April 29th. That was boxing. This was a shame it had to happen. It was an embarrassment to the sport.
It's true. It was.
True.
It was an embarrassment. Dax, give me some other quotes. What else you got?
I'm sorry?
Do you have any other quotes?
Oh yeah, we did. And a couple. The last two who I think are really on was James Monteverdi, who listens to the show, made a very valid point when he said, in terms of this pay-per-view, after in reply to a post that I had stated, and how the boxing public seems easily fooled, and how easily they were sold into this fight. He said it's all smoke and mirrors in the boxing game. That's why the rats rule over the lions. They paint a perception to the fans. They make all the money, and all the lions, like the ones in the zoo, get replaced by the younger, eager lions, and the ones who are easier to sell.
Well, listen, a lot of these comments, I think, are the majority of people's thoughts, to be honest with you.
It is, and the best comment of all, and which really, if I had anything to say, I would actually, more or less repeat these words, and that was by Peter Silkoff, who made a comment that's totally just summed up the event, not only just the fight itself, but the whole promotion. He says, don't blame Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. for what happened in the fight. Blame the people who sold you the fight and told you these were two Mexican legends, and a fight that's never going to be forgotten. He pities the poor fans that think of the Marco Antonio Barrera versus Eric Morales. They pity the fans who think about the Julio Cesar Chavez senior fights. He pities the fans who had their money ripped from their wallets literally by a grinning Oscar De La Hoya. Julio fought like somebody who had less than a handful of fights, yet Alvarez was still unable to stop him. It was simply a work-like performance from Alvarez, who often looked like he didn't know where he was going to throw the punches or what he was supposed to do, just going about in a robotic fashion. The truth is, these men are not true Mexican greats. Canelo is a media creation molded expertly by Oscar De La Hoya. He's molded but mechanical with all the flexibility of toffee. Julio Jr. was tough and brave, and up to a point, but chasing his father's legacy. But that time has passed, and this is his basic and moderate talent. It was clearly evident Saturday night. Chavez Sr. would have had a better chance against Canelo on that night. It was another big payday for Canelo, and a big payday and hopefully the last for Chavez Jr. But the man with the biggest smile at the end of the night was Gennady Golovkin, and rightfully so.
All right.
That's how they really feel.
Well, let's talk about that right now. Well, but before we talk about that, I want to throw one more question at you, Dax, about the pay-per-view, and that pretty much is the fight between David Lemieux and Marco Reyes. Like Sal said, a win's a win, and David Lemieux, by today's standards, was being busy because he just recently fought and got a replay, a classic knockout over Curtis Stevens. But his performance against Reyes, now maybe this was the wrong guy to pick if you were looking for Lemieux to, try to get another knockout. I mean, this guy had a granite chin, was going nowhere, was bigger, et cetera, et cetera. But in my opinion, David Lemieux showed that he's still a work in progress. I mean, this guy needs to defend himself a little better in terms of defense and head movement. And he certainly needs to know how to knock out an opponent rather than just go after the head. What was your thoughts on that fight?
Well, that's something we seem to find ourselves saying a little bit more and more, and we will later on when we speak about some other fighters, is, a work in progress. These guys are world champions. These are guys with 20 and 30, 40, or even more fights. Where is the work? The work should be done. As far as David Lemieux, as I stated Saturday, he regressed. We've seen him improve his boxing ability. I've given him credit for it in the past. He didn't incorporate any to the he didn't use any of the head movement that he incorporated in his style. He didn't throw any combination punches. He totally headhunted, as you stated. The fans, in terms of what they had to say. Matter of fact, believe it or not, Marcos Reyes was the guy who seemed to receive the most appreciation on Saturday night, and they're the ones that the fans have literally labeled the one with the Mexican heart on Saturday. It just kind of shows to prove that even though in this era where it kind of seems where the guy that sold the best is the one that's more appreciated, there are still a lot of fans out there that appreciate that hard effort, just like they did with Vladimir Klitschko and his loss to Anthony Joshua. They appreciate the efforts of Marcos Reyes because that's what boxing is about. Even though if you're going to lose, you got to go out on the shield, and that's what Marcos Reyes did. And you know what? You have to appreciate that. He earned his money, definitely, and so did David Lemieux. As for Chavez Sr. Jr. and for Canelo, I don't know, but something, I'm sure they're happy.
I think you hit it right on the head, and this is right up your alley, Sal. Fans appreciate fighters that give it their all. Arturo Gatti was loved by his fans. Boom Boom Mancini, loved by his fans. Mickey Ward, Marco Antonio Barrera, Eric Morales. I mean, these were all fighters that refused to ever quit in their corner or anything else. And I don't find it surprising that the fans rallied behind Marco Reyes, especially with that severe cut. I mean, the cut was bad, and he took some hellacious shots from David Lemieux and did not go down and ended up, making it to the final bell. What's your thoughts on these kinds of fighters, Sal, and the sport of boxing, and why the boxing fans love and respect them so much?
Well, that's just exactly what you said, Bill, because these guys, they have no quit in them. They have no defeat. They believe in themselves, their ability. Uh, you don't go down. You don't go down. You do not voluntarily quit a fight, and you're in the mix. And you know what? Till that last bell rings, the fight must go on until you're dropped and counted out. And it's we don't want to take into consideration what it does for one's health in the long run, but this is the game of boxing. You know what the repercussions are, what the possibilities are, and the bottom line is you choose to be a fighter. That's what fans appreciate, seeing you pull from inside and your heart and your mind, and that no quit. That's the whole thing about boxing and creating a fan base. You got a lot of fans out there that like to identify. I said this last week. They can identify with certain fighters, whether it's a trait, whether it's something that they appreciate about them, and they can almost live vicariously through that fighter. That's why they're so loyal to fans. They can say, "I know what he's feeling. I know this. Wow, that's how I would." And they see something and they feel something and they internalize something like, "Wow, that's my fighter. That's what I want to do." So when they get behind, they see these guys give it their all, their heart, their body, their soul, their mind, their passion, and they don't quit unless they're counted out or just not able to go on. They are going to follow that fighter till the end, and that's what creates the passion and the excitement and the drama and the game of boxing.
Hey Dax, that's a great segue for my next question because one of my favorite fighters really let me down this past weekend on Friday night, specifically on ESPN. Yuriorkis Gamboa he basically said no mas after the seventh round. Did not come out to start the eighth. Literally quit. He did hit the deck 100 million times in that fight, but so what? I mean, he certainly didn't appear to be taking the beating that Marco Reyes was taking from David Lemieux. What do you got for us on that fight?
I said Friday that Robin Hood was going to go in there and steal the win. He's a guy with a deceiving resume, much like Marcos Reyes, who we were just speaking about, where I had said Friday and I was wrong. I kind of used the Elvin Ayala fight, stating, if he was knocked out by an Ayala, I'm sure David Lemieux should be able to do the same thing. Robin Hood, again, is the same guy. This is somebody who, in his first 10 fights, showed no promise of ever developing a 500 win-loss record. And then after his loss to Mikey Garcia in 2008, he slowly improved. He held the WBC silver featherweight title for 2 to 3 years. He even, during that time, had a win over two-division world champion Celestino Caballero. Then he gets stopped by a guy that Gamboa beat in his previous outing, Rene Alvarado. He comes back, he scores a win over Ronnie Rios, gives him his first defeat of the career, beats veteran Rocky Juarez. Then he gets stopped by Oscar Escadon, which is nothing to frown upon. Escadon is a champion now who's going to face Gary Russell Jr. next, I believe. Then he bounces back and dominates Gamboa. Castellanos may not be a top 2 or even top 5 in the division, but probably, in my opinion, he's a genuinely top 10 guy at featherweight. He's somebody who I don't believe is going to go out there and beat the best, but he's definitely capable of hanging in there with anybody at the featherweight division. And remember, this was a 133-pound fight. Castellanos has never fought above the featherweight limit, so that's even a little bit more special. Not more special, but that kind of adds to the win. As far as Gamboa, he's done. you and I seen this starting to be evident against Highland Williams Jr. a couple years ago, and when he struggled in his previous outing against Rene Alvarado, who has a win over Castellanos. I think it's safe to say, as you stated earlier, anything out here on out for Gamboa, he's either going to be a name on a resume for a guy coming up, or he's just going to be fighting guys sea level or below just to stay active and collect the paychecks. But as far as Yuriorkis Gamboa, there's some new things that I came across with over this week, and that kind of explains a lot. And it's stuff that was suspected, and and I think right now, the writing's on the wall. And when you see what Gamboa has done in the last 2 or 3 years and the way he's declined, it's very obvious, and it's almost impossible to dispute.
Yeah, no, I'm extremely disappointed in Gamboa. But all right, now the big question today is the future fight, way in September, but still, it's everyone's talking about it now. I don't think it's as talked about yet as Anthony Joshua's win over Klitschko, but Triple G facing Canelo finally. Dax, what's your thoughts on that fight?
I refuse to get excited about it until a contract is actually signed. We heard about this after the Cotto fight. It was guaranteed. Same thing happened. People stepped into the ring. They agreed. I don't believe they gave a date, but it was guaranteed to be within another fight or so. If it happens, it'd be a great fight. I do edge Golovkin because of his experience and his calmness in the ring. Even though Canelo has vastly improved, there's still a lot of flaws. Even ones in the Chavez Jr. fight where he had nothing coming back on him, I seen a lot of mistakes that he made where Triple G would capitalize on it. And when Triple G capitalizes on those type of mistakes, guys go to sleep. There's a big difference between Daniel Jacobs and Canelo Alvarez, because Daniel Jacobs is a lot bigger, and he was definitely a lot bigger that night in the ring. And Canelo, he's a strong fighter physically. He has better than average power, but he doesn't have one punch knockout power. Daniel Jacobs does, and that was the big difference why Golovkin chose to box a little more than walk in on him. Against somebody like Canelo, I think he'd be able to walk in on, and if Canelo went to the ropes like he did against Chavez Jr., I don't see Triple G backing out after 2 or 3 punches.
No, first of all, they claim that both sides of the contract are signed, and it's set for September 16th. So unless an injury comes up or some other shenanigans, so according to both teams, it's fully executed, the contract. So, which throws us back to what you were saying earlier, that maybe the Canelo Chavez Jr. fight was fixed, but and it was an infomercial for the Triple G, Canelo fight. But I agree with you, Dax, and I'm sure Sal's going to have an opinion on this too. But I don't think that Canelo is going to employ any kind of a game attack, a fight plan like he fought against Chavez. I think you're going to see him trying to move more and box more and try to put his boxing skill set on display. And that, if he does do that, is actually in Triple G's favor, because no one cuts off the ring and masters and controls the ring as well as Triple G. Now, I will admit that he didn't look like he did it too well against Danny Jacobs, but I think, Dax, I think you're right. I think he respected the one-punch knockout power of Jacobs. I still believe he should have went after Danny because Daniel Jacobs' weak point is his chin. So I would have thought that Triple G would have been able to land a couple of powerful shots that would have dropped Danny Jacobs and knocked him out, which he failed to do. Saul Canelo Alvarez has displayed he's got a good chin, but I don't think he's been hit by a guy like Triple G. And if Canelo does want to make that fight a phone booth fight and stand in front of Triple G, I think that Triple G is good for that as well. The only thing that I think that Canelo might do better than Triple G is counterpunch. I think that Canelo has become a very efficient counterpuncher. What's your guys' thoughts? First, starting with you, Sal.
Well, I think Canelo has become a good counterpuncher. But I think Triple G is also a decent counterpuncher, although he's always leading in and being on the offensive. I think he's capable of counterpunching. And These two fighters, they shouldn't have to look for each other too difficult or too hard. Uh, as I said, I think Canelo's going to think he can outbox Triple G for a while, but as Dax was referring to, I think just Triple G is that much better of a technician. I think he will cut the ring off. I think that he will not be as respectful of Canelo's punching power as he was in the Daniel Jacobs fight. And I don't think that Canelo is going to be as big as Daniel Jacobs was. And I think that Triple G, like I said early, I see him breaking down Canelo. It's going to be a good fight. It's going to be a very good fight. I see the first 5, 6 rounds being a really good competitive fight. But I just think that Triple G's heavy handed approach and the way he can break down an opponent, I think he's going to hit Canelo to the side. I think he's going to slow him down, especially if Canelo gets down to the ropes or gets cut off into the corner. And I just think what Chavez could not accomplish with his three-punch combination when Canelo was on the ropes, I think Triple G is going to deliver with an exclamation mark, and that's going to be the difference. He's going to break him down on that level, and I think it's going to be a late fight stoppage. I don't think it'll go to the 12th.
What do you think, Dax?
Well, as you will, just back to the Daniel Jacobs point, you kind of, Bill, contradicted yourself with something that we've been talking about for 2 weeks now on how he should have went after Jacobs because Jacobs' weak point in his chin. As we seen on Saturday night with David Lemieux and Marcos Reyes, a guy who the chin was the big question. Marcos Reyes never went anywhere. Vladimir Klitschko against Anthony Joshua. The big question there was, can Vladimir Klitschko take it on the chin? Up until the knockout, and even in that round, Vladimir Klitschko took shots that would have stopped almost everybody else in the division, and rightfully so. And how Vladimir stayed up through a lot of those is beyond my understanding, and Vladimir had been knocked out before by lesser fighters. So something, the chin isn't always a guarantee. And when you have somebody in there as big as a Daniel Jacobs, you know what? Why bank on that, or why take a foolish chance knowing that he has that firepower to come back? And as for the counterpunching, Canelo has definitely improved in his counterpunching, but some of Triple G's best knockouts and highlight reel knockouts have come through a counterpunch.
All right, guys. How about this? And I think Dax reported this several weeks ago, a month or so ago. Triple G, in his last at least 2 fights, I know the last 2 for sure, maybe even 3, has not been 100% by fight time. And I think, Dax, you suggested that, what are they doing to this guy? They got to change something around. He's coming down with colds and fevers and just, last time he had some cold sores on him. And, he needs to be 100% against Canelo. And then on the other side of the coin, Canelo, who had been running out of gas during this fight, seemingly did not run out of gas on Saturday night against Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. How do you see these guys approaching the fight against each other, Dax? I mean, do you think that the issue that we talked about with Triple G and them doing the same routine over and over is resulting in him getting sick or not being 100% or whatever? Do they have to change that now that they keep business as usual? He is undefeated. And what does Canelo do? Does he incorporate the same conditioning program that he did for Junior?
I think if he's going to go in there against Triple G, definitely the conditioning program he did for Junior is the one. If anything, though, I think he should probably add a little bit more to his cardio just in case that comes in late. And, Triple G, who is willing to stand there and trade, and Triple G, who is known to be a devastating body puncher in his own right. We all know how those body punches take a lot out of somebody. And into those late rounds, Canelo's going to need all the gas he can. Canelo is not fleet-footed, so he would definitely have to add a lot more into there. As far as Triple G not looking spectacular in his last 2 fights, this is what an argument that I get into with a lot of people over this. Over those last 2 fights, against the Kell Brook fight, it's not that he didn't look sensational. Kell Brook, 1, is a very large welterweight. Number 2, Kell Brook is very fast. Canelo had equal amount of trouble, if not even more trouble, with Amir Khan early on, where Amir Khan was able to land at will. Canelo was banking on that knockout, which did come. Triple G, I believe he was a little bit surprised by Kell Brook's speed and power. Kell Brook, I believe he hit a little bit harder than Triple G expected, even though Triple G was never hurt, but he was just a little bit surprised. And against Daniel Jacobs, he did the right thing. He fought a smart tactical fight. Just because you can go out there and knock guys out doesn't mean you always have to go out there and knock guys out. And the difference between a very good fighter and a great fighter is the guy who knows when to step it up, when to put his foot on the gas, and when to hit that brake a little bit. And that's what Triple G seems to know how to do. And when you are able to knock guys out, but you can sit there and rely on your boxing ability if you need to, that makes you an even better fighter and actually raises you up a level or two. And that'd be the difference in this fight. And that has been the difference in the Triple G fight against his best opponents, namely, say, a David Lemieux and even a Daniel Jacobs, who made it a very close fight. And a lot of people have an argument for Jacobs winning that fight. But you know something that showed? Triple G just didn't need power. Triple G can box. Can Canelo do everything and incorporate that when he has to? Or is he only able to incorporate that against the smaller guys or when somebody's not throwing back at him?
Triple G, you're right. Triple G, if he can incorporate the jab the way he did against Kell Brook or even against, what's his name, the kid from Rochester, that he used the jab
William
against.
Monroe Jr.
Yeah, Monroe Jr. Thanks. My mind is going blank. William Monroe Jr., he did incorporate the jab there. One last question for you, Dax, and then we can catch you later in the week. And by the way, programming note for everyone, we will not be doing a live show on Friday. So check your local listings for replays of another show. The question I wanted to ask you, will the long layoff, which for Triple G is going to be, fairly substantial. I mean, he does like to fight 2 or even 3 times a year. This is going to be a break. He would have liked to have fought in between his last fight in September. Do you think this somewhat long break will help or hurt Triple G?
That's a very good question. It may help him because it gives him more time to prepare more mentally than physically. He always comes in shape. That's not a question. But, mentally, him and Abel Sanchez are able to really sit down and put together the proper game plan. Triple G likes to study his opponents, and I know Abel Sanchez likes to study the opponents of his fighters, and they will pick out whatever flaws they see. And I don't think that they're going to use the Chavez Jr. fight as something that they're going to look at and say, you know what, this is what we need to do. I think they're going to use a lot of other past fights. I think maybe a good fight for them to use would possibly be the Amir Khan fight, where it's very similar on, they both fought a smaller guy, and they're able to see, I know what I did wrong. Let me see what he did wrong. And with me being the smaller guy, meaning Triple G, physically overall, even though he's been at middleweight and Canelo at 154 pounds, there's stuff that they're going to be able to capitalize on with each one. And Triple G is a guy who doesn't like to spend a lot of time walking around in the media and showing off and talking about building things up. He's a man of limited words. He's more business. And Canelo, the more as time goes on, especially after this, his head gets bigger and bigger, and he's a little bit more celebrity. So that's going to be definitely a difference inside there. One guy's going to be more mentally prepared than the other one, and I think one is going to go in there kind of thinking he already has this one. So that will be the difference on Saturday night, and layoff is not going to have anything to do with it, in my opinion. Not Saturday night, in September 19th, and that's going to be the difference here. The layoff isn't going to be the difference.
Dax, I appreciate it. Hopefully we'll get you again later in the week, my man.
All right.
That's Dax Khan, and we can look for him later in the week. And as for Sal and myself, we're going to take a short break right now, and when we get back, I got a question for Sal that hopefully
is it multiple choice?
No, it's not. It's not. But hopefully he'll have the right answer, even though there really is no right or wrong answer. But either way, we will be back in 2.
Billy C will be right back. Part of the Billy C Boxing Network.
Have you heard? Proactive Plus is faster and better than ever. Stay tuned for a 1,000,000 bottle giveaway, and you'll also receive free shipping. Do you have troubled skin? Acne? Well, we have great news. With Proactive Plus, your acne can heal, and you can help prevent new breakouts from happening. Don't miss this limited time offer. Give us a call at 800-567-0214 because we're going to let 1,000,000 people try Proactive Plus risk-free and get 2 free gifts and also receive free shipping when you call right now. You heard it. This offer won't last long. So call Proactive Plus now and you'll receive a 60-day risk-free trial of Proactive Plus, 2 free extras, and free shipping. Call 800-567-0214. This is our exclusive radio offer, never on TV. Get your risk-free 60-day trial of Proactive Plus with free shipping. That's right, free shipping. Don't wait. Call 800-567-0214. That's 800-567-0214.
Snacking has never been this exciting. At Graze.com, we combine wholesome ingredients with the flavors we all love to create over 100 exciting snacks. Like these. We'd love to send you a Graze sampler box for free. Just go to Graze.com, enter the code ENJOY36, and we'll mail your free box to your home or office. Join thousands of Grazers already in love with our exciting snacks. So come to Graze.com for your first box free.
This message is for all Americans that owe $10,000 or more in back taxes to the IRS. Look, I know you want to keep ignoring those letters, but the problem isn't going away. It's really stressful, and you don't know where to turn.
The good news is you have rights, and we can help resolve your IRS problems.
If you owe more than $10,000 in back taxes, our qualified CPAs, tax negotiators, and support staff know the law and know how to get your situation under control legally and permanently.
Call the number on your screen now and we will contact the IRS on your behalf, help you end wage garnishments, stop collection calls, remove tax liens, get rid of IRS and state tax penalties, and reduce the amount you owe if you qualify. You wouldn't go to fix your car without going to a mechanic, so why face the IRS without an experienced company that can help you?
Let us take the stress of back taxes and the IRS off your shoulders so you can spend time on the important things in your life, like your family or your business. If you owe more than $10,000 in back taxes, call now and find out how we can help you.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts. Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you. I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're listening and watching the Billy C. Show. Glad to be with you today. And hey, you know what? Check out our website, www.billycboxing.com. And don't forget about Gawk Box. What is it? Check it out. Sign up. We can save you money. And you can help us out, too. Just visit our website, billycboxing.com. And once you get past the giant Sal's Neighborhood Pizzeria banner that Sal's new best buddy Jeremy put up, you'll see the Gawk Box banner. So click on that one. I don't know what you and your buddy did, but I bring up the site the other day, and bam, it's like, oh, man, what is this, Sal's new website? Oh, no, it's my website with Sal's banner on it. You know, I'm like, okay. You know, so anyway. Hey, Sal, I got a good question for you. The fight that we're talking about, Triple G going up against Saul Canelo Alvarez, scheduled for September 16th. It's 4 months away.
Yes.
As a fighter, for arguably the biggest fights of both their careers at this point, do you start training now? When does training start? I mean, Canelo just got done with, arguably a great training camp. He displayed his conditioning by standing between rounds, did not run out of gas at all, did not fight in spurts at all against Chavez. And now, Triple G, who's been off for a few months, you got to assume he's, maybe just been going through the motions in the gym, not really seriously training for a fight. But when do these guys start the training for this matchup?
Well, that's funny you should say that, and I think these are let's get it clear. These are two seasoned professionals. They've been there, they've done that. They know their bodies, they know their minds. They will probably both plan and backtrack from the fight date what they're going to need, what they need to do to prepare. Mentally, they start engaging it right now, and because it becomes an obsession, it becomes you put the blinders on, and what you do is you eat, sleep, and drink your opponent on that level. And I think they're relatively in good shape to begin with. These guys don't get very much out of shape in between fights. And I think if they continue to, Canelo should certainly take maybe a week or two off and just let his body recover and be fine. And then you start a program just keeping loose. You don't want the muscles to atrophy or to shorten up. You keep stretching, you keep the body agile and flexible, and you do go to the gym. But now here's the thing. They have a fight date and have their opponents in mind. So everything they do from this point on is going to be geared to peak at that date. Too many times you start too early, you're going to peak before, and you're going to be listless, you're going to be spent, and you're going to be not showing up the way you should be. They can't do that. And that's what I'm saying. You backtrack from the date to get to your best possible optimum time to enter that ring. Most fighters find it comfortable to get into great shape 6 to 8 weeks before a fight. And I think they will keep relatively in shape. I think they'll be doing drills. I think they'll be looking and studying their opponent, and watching the films with their trainers and seeing some things that they can train and capitalize on. But again, I think they're going to wait to 6 to 8 weeks before that fight date to really, really be in camp and to really backtrack and look at what they're going to outline for sparring, for drilling, for conditioning, for everything else. So that's how they do it.
I mean, at this point, wouldn't it be a smart move? I mean, everybody's always talking about overtraining and, running out of gas because he overtrained or, has nothing on his punches because he overtrained. Would it make sense for these guys to, at least now, even though it's 4 months away, start to work on conditioning and possibly when and if there's any weight, issues that they have to address? I mean, obviously, Canelo just weighed in at the contracted weight of 164.5 pounds for Chavez. I mean, is there anything they start on now, or are they going to do all the PR stuff, do the tours, and then get down to business? I mean, what would you think? I know you were pretty extensive with your explanation before, but could you add anything with the conditioning aspect and maybe working on weight, even though both fighters have never had a problem with weight?
Well, I think right now, just you look at the food you intake, and that food has got to be the fuel. Literally, when it comes to boxing, you are what you eat. In a sense, you have to have your balance of carbohydrates, protein, fats, and calories, obviously. So these guys, like I said, they look like they keep in fairly good shape throughout their year, whether they're fighting or not. You've never seen them balloon up to 200 pounds or anything like that. I think right now they lay the plan out. They're going to do some press releases. Maybe they have some kind of promotion going on. But in between, as I said, they can't let their body sit idle. They can't let those muscles that they stretch every day. They got to go through their calisthenics. They got to go through their stretching because they can't have anything shorten and atrophy. And get this, if they're doing any kind of weight programs, they got to try and keep maintaining that for a while. I would think they would get into a cardio program, whether it's jogging and running, mixing it up. I think right now, as I said, they should maybe go for their jogs and then do some implement some wind sprints, maybe do some intervals and training around a track where they can. So you don't want to get the razor too sharp at this point, but you want to have it where you could sharpen it, dull it up a little bit, sharpen it, dull it up a little bit. And then because when you want to peak, you're going to peak it and you're going to keep it sharp. But the bottom line is they should maintain, they should go to school, they should prepare, and they should, keep it for next couple of weeks. A little bit of this and a little bit of that. Sounds like my mother's old cooking.
I tell you, maybe Canelo will, spend some more time at the radio control car tracks and the gun ranges. It seemed like he had a lot of fun preparing for Chavez. But one question that I wanted to ask you before I move on here is, who do you think seems more into it? Right now, in a whole, I think Canelo Alvarez seems more into his boxing career than Triple G does. I know Triple G is a blue-collar, bring-your-pal to work. He does everything as a routine, almost robotic. And I think this particular fight, you got to be into it. The whole mental aspect, not only is this fight going to tax their physical abilities, but I think it's going to really tax their mental abilities. And one of the things that you have to be positive on is the fight itself. You're looking forward to this fight. I'm going to prove to this one. I'm going to prove to that one. It's almost like the guy who goes to two guys going to the same job every day. One guy likes his job. The other guy hates his job. The guy that likes his job is going to be more productive at it. Do you see one of these fighters liking what they do better than the other? I think Canelo does. What's your thoughts?
I think you're right on. I think Canelo, he obviously he's a younger fighter, and I think that he right now, feels that he still has many years of his career ahead of him, and this is going to be his signature fight right up to this point. And I think you see that, and he's going to be enthusiastic about it. And I think Triple G has got to approach this fight, because let's face it, Triple G doesn't have any more than maybe 3 fights left, in my opinion. World class, let's go to town and bat all-out fights or wars. And this could be his last. And I think he needs to adapt and to get his mindset fixated on training for this fight with the enthusiasm and the fervor as if it's all happening from the get-go and starting. This could be like his pro debut with the enthusiasm. He's got a whole career that he's going to signature and make a statement with this fight. So he's got to have that revitalization or that enthusiasm of approaching it like it's his first fight and going out in that ring like it might be his last fight. And that's kind of the signature he wants to send off in his legacy as a world champion. So he's got to keep the intensity and the passion alive and not become stale. And I think he is a professional that can summon it up and let his mind get into the program that his body will follow. He's a professional, and I would think that he's going to do that. And don't take for granted what his last 2 performances look like, okay? Because he still broke Kell Brooks' eye socket or whatever it was, facial bone. I mean, those are heavy hands that could do that. And he did fight a bigger man in Daniel Jacobs. And he did a decent enough performance to win. So, I think he's still capable. I think he's a professional. I think he will look at this fight as he can create the enthusiasm for and get up for this fight, because he knows the significance of this fight and how valuable it will be if it's his last fight.
Good point. Definitely good point on that. Tomorrow. Oh, I was going to. We are going to talk about Tyson Fury and some announcements that were made concerning his ring return. And I'm a big fan of Tyson Fury. I was, and he's clearly put on a lot of weight. And Frank Warren, his promoter, has got some interesting things to say. And, of course, Tyson Fury has some interesting things to say. And they all kind of revolve around Anthony Joshua. And personally, I think Anthony Joshua is the best heavyweight in the world today. I would much rather see Anthony Joshua face Deontay Wilder right now. But I have a feeling that Deontay Wilder and his team are going to do the Fred Astaire dance and avoid Anthony Joshua at all costs, because everyone but Deontay Wilder himself knows that he's a fraud. And he's a big, strong guy, will knock me out, will knock Sal out. but
Easy.
he's certainly not going to dominate Anthony Joshua or even Klitschko for that matter. But anyway, Sal, it's that time again. It's time for our trivia question that people were begging me for. I won't mention any names, but his initials were Kevin from the chat room, and he hasn't gotten it right yet, and it's a tough one. It really is. I've gotten a lot of wrong answers, but we are going to ask it again. Now, what's on the line is your very own copy of the Title Bout Championship computer game. So if you're the first one to email me the correct answer, Billy at Talkin' Boxing. Let me spell it for you because a lot of you get it wrong. It's TALKINBOXING.com. So if you're the first one to email me, Billy at talkinboxing.com, you'll win a copy of the Title Bout game. Okay, here's the question. Which former world champion lost the most title fights? Which former world champion lost the most title fights? If you're the first one to email me this answer, Billy at talkinboxing, TALKINBOXING.com, you'll win a copy of the Title Bout Championship computer game. Now, Sal, I always like to give you the first dibs on this. Maybe you can help him out. Maybe you can get this answer correct right now and force me to go to another one. But I ask you, Sal, which world champion lost the most title fights?
Jack Dempsey?
No. It's it's not Jack Dempsey. It's not Jack Dempsey.
That's my
so it's safe to say that the rest of yous out there can still answer this question correctly. If you know what former world champion lost the most title fights, email me, Billy at Talkin' Boxing. That's TALKINBOXING.com. Now, on this day in boxing history, May 8th, a lot of good stuff happened. On this day in 1993, Gerald McClellan knocks out Julian Jackson in the 5th round to win the WBC World Middleweight title, and that took place in Las Vegas on this day in 1993. On this day in 1976, Esteban de Jesus wins a 15-round decision over Hishimatsu Suzuki to win the WBC World Lightweight title. It took place in Puerto Rico. On this day in 1940, Jimmy Perrin wins a 15-round decision over Bobby Ruffin to win the vacant Louisiana World Featherweight title. That took place in New Orleans. And yes, you heard it correctly. Back in that era, there were several states, most of them, as a matter of fact, that were into boxing, had their own world titles. So most people accepted the New York State world title, but some other states got into reindeer games. And on this day, Jimmy Perrin won the Louisiana World Featherweight title. On this day in 1987, Jeff Fennick knocks out Samart Payayankarun in the 4th round to win the WBC World Junior Featherweight title, and that took place in Australia. On this day in 1976, Carlos Zarate, our last blast from the past, knocks out Rodolfo Martinez in the 9th round to win the WBC World Bantamweight title. It took place in California. And on this day, May 8th, in 1982, Ray Boom Boom Mancini knocks out Art Frias in the 1st round to win his WBA World Lightweight title, and that took place in Las Vegas on this day, May 8th. Boom Boom Mancini, one of my favorite all-time fighters. Don't forget, speaking of blasts from the past, Wednesday we'll be talking about Miguel Cantu as our blast from the past this week. Sal, Rocky, Senecola, any final thoughts as we wrap it up today?
No, I think we covered a good post-fight weekend, and we will have plenty to say as we follow along the path to September 16th showdown.
This is true, and don't forget to tune in tomorrow. We're going to be talking about the latest news. We got some emails we'll read, and of course, Frank Warren and his announcement about Tyson Fury returning. We'll talk about that and some thoughts on that and the heavyweight division and more. We'll be talking between now and September about the showdown between Triple G and Canelo Alvarez. So I'll leave you guys with this. Make sure you tune in tomorrow morning. Same bat time, same bat channel. Until then, ciao, baby.